What do you mean we're charging $42 for a chicken dish? Jared Benton stared at the printed menu on his desk, his brow furrowed. The dish was called Heritage Hen au Vin, and the description claimed it used free-range chicken flown in weekly from a small organic farm in Vermont. He built the restaurant chain from a single food truck 15 years ago. It now had 18 locations across 3 states, each known for fresh ingredients, honest pricing, and great service. But lately, reviews were slipping. Customers were calling the food overpriced. A few even questioned whether the ingredients were as high-end as the menu claimed. He wasn't getting straight answers from his district manager. "It's the new chef at the Lexington location," the guy had said. "He's just bringing flair. People love it." Jared didn't want flair. He wanted truth. And if someone was misrepresenting the food, that was a line he didn't let anyone cross. He hadn't personally met the staff at Lexington. It was one of the newer stores, opened during the pandemic. Hiring had been handled entirely by the district team. That gave him an idea. He pulled open a drawer and grabbed the disguise kit he hadn't used in over 2 years. Glasses, light beard, dyed hair. He'd go in as a food critic writing for a blog. No clipboard, no camera crew, just him and his fork. 2 days later, he walked into the Lexington location wearing a worn leather jacket, jeans, and a quiet look. No one blinked. No one knew his face. That was the benefit of building a brand that focused on the food, not the founder. A hostess greeted him with a tired smile. "Welcome. Table for one." "Yeah, please. Somewhere I can see the kitchen if possible." She nodded and led him to a seat near the open pass-through window. From there, he could see a tall man in a spotless chef's coat talking to a younger line cook. The chef's name tag read Chef Marco. A server named Tasha came over. "Hi there, I'm Tasha. I'll be taking care of you tonight. Can I start you with a drink?" "Water's fine. Can you tell me what's good here?" She smiled. "If you're hungry, the Heritage Hen is popular. Chef Marco says it's flown in from Vermont every week from this special farm." "Really?" Jared raised his eyebrows. "That sounds fancy." "Oh yeah. He even showed us the farm's Instagram once. The chickens roam free like little kings." Jared chuckled. "All right, let's do that." As she left, he watched the kitchen. Marco wasn't cooking, he was watching, barking orders, occasionally plating, but mostly talking. When the dish finally came out, Jared cut into it slowly. It was fine. Not bad, but nothing like the organic chicken he'd tasted during supplier visits. He knew the taste of cheap bulk chicken when it hit his mouth. He called Tasha back. "Mind asking Marco where the chicken's from? Just curious. I write for food blog." Tasha hesitated. "Oh, sure. I'll ask." She headed to the pass window and leaned in close. Marco looked surprised, then annoyed. He glanced over at Jared, then stepped out from the kitchen and approached the table. "Hi there," Marco said, his voice smooth. "I hear you're asking about our chicken?" "Yeah. It's great. Just curious where you get it from." Marco clasped his hands. "Small farm in Vermont. Weekly shipment. It's not cheap, but quality costs money, right?" Jared nodded slowly. "You ever been there yourself?" Marco scoffed lightly. "Of course. I've met the farmers. Seen the operation. It's the real deal." Jared leaned back in his chair, watching him closely. "That's good to hear. Do you mind if I ask the name of the farm?" Marco blinked. "Ah. Yeah, it's called a Green Valley Heritage. They don't have much of a web presence. Real old school." Jared didn't say anything, just gave a polite smile. "Thanks." Marco gave a short nod and returned to the kitchen, his back stiff. Jared finished his meal, paid in cash, and left a big tip for Tasha. Outside, he sat in his car and pulled out his phone. No farm by that name existed in Vermont. Nothing even close. He called one of his suppliers. "Hey, it's Jared. Can you do me a favor? I need to know who's supplying poultry to our Lexington store. Quietly. The answer came back 15 minutes later. A bulk distributor in Ohio. Factory farmed, not remotely organic. Jared's heart sank. Marco was lying. Not just to customers. To his staff, too. And worse, he was using that lie to jack up prices. Jared stared at the restaurant through the windshield. He knew what he had to do. Tomorrow he was coming back. Only this time, not as a customer. The next morning, Jared stood outside the Lexington location just before opening, dressed in a plain navy sweater and dark slacks. No disguise this time.
No teatrix.
He had called ahead using a private number, asking the assistant general manager to meet him at the back entrance at 8. Not the front. Not the dining room. Quietly. A young man in his 20s opened the back door. His eyes widened slightly when he recognized Jared, but he didn't say anything. "You're the assistant manager?" Jared asked. "Yes, sir. Devon. I started about 6 months ago. Didn't think I'd ever see you here." Jared stepped inside. "You didn't. I'm here to work the line. No one else knows who I am. You're going to introduce me as a new regional trainee, just here for hands-on experience." Devon looked unsure. "You want me to lie?" "I want you to observe," Jared said. "I'll handle the rest. Just make sure no one knows." Devon nodded slowly.
All right.
"You got it." Jared tied on a kitchen apron and followed Devon into the narrow prep corridor. The kitchen was already alive, pans clanging, prep tables crowded with ingredients. Marco wasn't in yet. A small woman with sleeves rolled to her elbows was trimming herbs at a speed that only came from repetition. "That's Carla," Devon whispered. "Been here since opening. She's solid." Jared gave a nod and stepped into a corner station. A prep cook in his mid-40s gave him a wary glance. "You the new guy?" "Yeah," Jared said. "Just learning the ropes." The man grunted. "Name's Luis. Don't touch my knives." "Understood." For the next hour, Jared chopped, measured, and cleaned. No one paid much attention. He quietly studied the rhythm of the kitchen. It was fast, but there was something strained underneath it, like everyone was trying to meet a standard that didn't quite fit the reality of their tools, time, or training. When Marco arrived just after 10, the tone shifted. He walked in wearing a tailored black coat over his chef whites, sunglasses perched on his head despite the fluorescent lighting. He didn't greet anyone. Just walked straight to the walk-in cooler, pulled Luis aside, and started whispering. From the corner of his eye, Jared watched Luis's shoulders tense. When Marco emerged, he clapped once. "All right, everyone. Reminder, the lamb special is off the board tonight. Supply issues. Push the chicken." "Got it." No one responded. I said, "Got it?" A few muttered acknowledgments followed. Jared kept his head down. But the next few hours confirmed what he already suspected. The so-called heritage chicken? Jared watched as Luis unboxed a bulk case labeled Midwest Poultry Company with a printed barcode and no farm name. The packaging was industrial vacuum-sealed portions without any trace of the Vermont story Marco had spun the night before. Jared didn't say a word. He just helped portion the meat, noting how every single fillet looked exactly like the mass-produced chicken he had tasted. At one point, Carla leaned over. "You got quiet hands," she said. "Most new guys slam the cutting board like they're at a hibachi grill." "Old habit," Jared replied. "You, in this industry long?" "Long enough to know when a kitchen's working uphill." She gave a sideways glance. "You see it too, huh?" He didn't answer, but she kept talking, voice lower. "Marco's got us pushing things that don't match what's on the menu. Tasha caught it a few weeks ago, asked why the produce was frozen when it's supposed to be farm fresh. He told her to mind her section. Did she push back? She's got bills. We all do." Lunch service brought more tension. Tasha was on the floor again. Jared watched her juggle 5 tables at once while also running drinks from the bar. There was no dedicated busser. No food runner. She didn't complain, but the strain showed in how she moved quick, precise, but stretched thin. At one point, she dropped a tray of glasses. It shattered near the kitchen pass. Marco didn't even look up. Clean it fast. I don't want anyone slipping. She crouched down, flinching as she knelt too quickly. Jared stepped out and picked up a broom. I got this. She looked at him in surprise. Thanks. You don't have to. I'm standing here doing nothing. Least I can do. As he swept, Marco finally noticed him. Hey, new guy. You have time to play janitor. You have time to get the chicken prepped for table 22. Jared didn't respond. He finished sweeping, handed off the broom, and walked back to the line. By dinner, the pressure doubled. A large party walked in without a reservation. Marco insisted they be seated immediately. Tasha tried to explain they were short 2 servers, but he waved her off. You can handle it. You want to move up, right? Prove it. Jared watched her nod, even though her hands were already trembling. Later, in the break room, Jared found her sitting alone, head down, fingers pinching the bridge of her nose. He sat across from her. You all right? I'm fine, she said. Just haven't had a proper break in 2 days. That normal here? She hesitated. Depends. When Marco's in a mood, we don't ask. You ever talk to upper management? They don't come down here. Last time we saw someone from corporate was during the grand opening. Jared rested his hands on the table. You ever think about leaving? Every week. But I've got a little sister in college. I'm paying most of her tuition. This place isn't perfect, but I make just enough with tips to keep her enrolled. He nodded slowly. You're doing a good thing. She gave a tired laugh. Doesn't feel like it when you're walking home every night with shin splints and a fake smile. Jared stood. Hang in there. Change is coming. She looked up. What do you mean? I just have a feeling. Back in the kitchen, Carla was arguing with Marco. I'm telling you, the salmon's off. It smells like it's been sitting too long. Marco waved her off. It's fine. Just sear it with extra lemon. No one will notice. I notice, she said. And I'm not putting my name on bad fish. You don't have a name on the menu, Marco snapped.
Ido.
Jared stepped forward. She's right. If it's off, it's off. Marco turned. You been here a day. Don't tell me how to run my kitchen. Jared folded his arms. I've been in enough kitchens to know when corners are being cut. Marco took a step closer. You got something to say it. Jared looked him in the eyes. You're lying to customers. You're overworking your staff. And you're pushing bad product under a fake label. For a moment, silence fell across the kitchen. Carla froze. Luis turned from the grill. Jared pulled off the apron. My name is Jared Benton. I built this company from a 20-foot food truck. And I don't tolerate liars. Marco's face went pale.
Wait.
You've been here 6 months, and in that time, you've poisoned the brand. You're done. Get your things and get out. Marco opened his mouth, but Jared cut him off.
Now.
Devin appeared at the doorway, eyes wide. Call HR, Jared told him. Marco's terminated effective immediately. I'll handle the paperwork myself. Marco stormed out without another word. Jared turned to the staff. Anyone who was pressured into lying about ingredients, come see me privately. No one will be punished for telling the truth. Tasha appeared at the edge of the kitchen, still holding a drink tray. You're really him? Jared nodded. And I'm sorry it took me this long to show up. She set the tray down carefully, as if the weight of it suddenly became too much. Carla leaned on the prep table. Luis gave a quiet nod. Jared looked around, voice clear. This place is going to change. Starting today. Jared stood at the stainless steel prep table, sleeves rolled up, apron back on. The kitchen was quieter now. Not in volume, pans still hissed, tickets still printed, but in tension. Marco's absence left a vacuum, but not chaos. Instead, There was a cautious stillness, like the staff was waiting to see what would happen next. He didn't make a speech. That wasn't his way. Instead, he took a station beside Carla and began slicing shallots. She glanced at him, but didn't say anything right away. The air smelled of garlic and lemon, and for the first time all day, no one barked orders. Devon entered from the back hallway, holding a clipboard and walking like someone who didn't want to draw attention. He stopped by Jared and kept his voice low. HR confirmed the termination, he said. They're sending someone out tomorrow to help with transition paperwork. You want me to step in upstairs till then? Jared wiped his hands on a towel. You know the systems? I've been shadowing Marco for months. I know how he did things, but I wouldn't run it like that.
Good. Don't.
Keep it stable. No menu changes. No price adjustments. Just hold the line. Devon nodded and headed toward the office. As he passed Tasha near the server station, he paused to say something quietly. She gave a short nod but didn't smile. Jared watched her take an order from a couple near the window. She moved slower than earlier, but deliberate. Controlled. He could see her recalibrating in real time, trying to figure out if the shift in leadership meant anything permanent. Carla passed a finished plate to the pass. You gonna keep working the line? For tonight, he said. I need to see how it runs without pressure from the top. She adjusted a pan on the stove. We've been doing damage control for weeks. You want to know what this place is really capable of, you'll have to stick around longer than a dinner shift. I will. She didn't ask for proof. She just went back to searing scallops. The dinner rush hit hard. With Marco gone, the line moved differently. No one tried to overstyle dishes. There was less shouting, more quiet communication. Jared noticed Carla stepping in where needed not because anyone asked, but because she saw where things were slipping. In the dining room, Tasha was still in motion. At one point, Jared caught her reaching into her apron pocket and pulling out a folded index card. She glanced at it quickly before taking a deep breath and approaching a table of 6. Her eyes were steady now, her voice clearer. Her posture said she wasn't just surviving the shift, she was managing it. When the last table cleared out around 10:30, Jared let the staff finish their closing routines. He walked out to the dining room, now dimly lit and quiet except for the soft hum of the refrigeration units. Tasha was wiping down menus at the host stand. You got a second? He asked. She straightened up. Sure. He motioned to one of the booths. They sat across from each other, the table between them still smelling faintly of wood polish and citrus cleaner. I want to ask you something, he said. Back when you heard the story about the Vermont chicken, did you believe it? She looked at the tabletop. At first I did. Marco sounded like he knew what he was talking about. Said he had personal connections to the farm. But the packaging started looking different. We stopped seeing the weekly invoices on the wall. That's when I started asking questions. And when you didn't get answers, I stopped pushing. I needed the paycheck. You ever think about going into management? I've thought about it, she said. But I figured someone like Marco would never let me get past floor staff. Why? She hesitated. Because I don't fit the image he wanted. My hair's natural, I don't wear makeup, and I don't flirt with customers. That didn't exactly make me his favorite. Jared's jaw tensed. Did he ever say anything directly?
No.
But I got passed over for lead server 3 times. The last one went to someone who started 2 weeks before. He leaned back. Would you take a lead server role now if it was offered? She looked him in the eye. If the kitchen's clean, the food's honest, and I'm respected? Yeah, I'd take it. He stood. Then it's yours. She blinked. What? You'll start next week. Extra $5 per hour. You'll help train incoming servers, handle floor issues, and coordinate with Devon until we hire a new general manager. She didn't speak for a moment. Then she nodded once, slow and deliberate. Thank you. You earned it. Back in the kitchen, Jared found Luis stacking cleaned pans on the shelf. You're the only one who didn't look surprised today, Jared said.
Luís traga.
I've been around enough kitchens to know when someone's watching for more than prep technique. You ever think about becoming sous chef? Luis gave a short laugh. I'm practically doing the job already. That's why I'm asking. Luis leaned against the counter. You gonna clean house or build something better? Both. Then yeah, I'm in. Jared checked his watch. Almost midnight. He headed to the office where Devin was sorting receipts. You still good to hold the fort till HR steps in? Devin rubbed his temples. Yeah, just trying to make sense of this inventory log. Some of it's wrong. How wrong? Quantities don't match what we've been serving. Either we've been over-ordering or someone was moving product off the books. Jared's voice dropped. You think Marco was selling inventory out the back? I don't have proof yet, but the chicken numbers make no sense. We've been ordering more than we could possibly serve. Jared nodded. Pull the last 60 days of supplier invoices. I'll cross-reference them with POS data. Will do. Jared left the office and stepped out into the alley behind the building. The night air was cool. He pulled his phone from his pocket and called his assistant back at HQ. I need a forensic audit on Lexington's supplier accounts. Quietly. Start with poultry, move to seafood. Pull all Marco's expense reimbursements too. She didn't ask questions. Just confirmed and hung up. He stood there for a while, listening to the buzz of the neon sign above the service entrance. The place didn't look like much from the outside, but inside there were people worth fighting for. He walked back in, locked the back door behind him, and turned off the kitchen lights. Tomorrow he'd be back. Not undercover, not as a mystery guest, but as the owner, standing shoulder to shoulder with the people who kept the place alive after someone else tried to hollow it out. By the end of the week, Lexington's kitchen was quieter, but not in the way it had been under Marco. The silence now wasn't tension, it was focus. Pans still clattered, ticket printers still buzzed, but the yelling had stopped. Orders moved with less flair, more precision. Carla, now unofficially leading the kitchen team, had redrawn the prep flow, grouping stations so ingredients weren't duplicated. Luis handled proteins and trained a part-time hire from another location, a quiet guy named Reggie, who hadn't had a real chance under Marco. Jared had stayed in Lexington every day since the reveal, rotating between the kitchen, the floor, and the office. He didn't pull rank. He pulled weight. Dishes, prep, even sweeping the alley after close when the trash bins overflowed. He slept in a hotel 2 blocks away. When the day ended, he reviewed supplier logs and Marco's purchase histories until his eyes blurred. On Thursday, the audit results came in. Jared sat across from the regional controller in the office, the door shut tight. She flipped through a thin stack of printed summaries. Marco submitted reimbursement requests for menu development ingredients totaling over $12,000 in the last 4 months, she said. None of those items were logged in the inventory?
Correct.
And they don't match invoices from our approved suppliers. He was buying elsewhere, likely pocketing kickbacks or reselling surplus. Jared nodded once. Forward everything to legal. We'll pursue restitution. She hesitated. There's more. He submitted a vendor contract, supposedly from a Vermont poultry farm. But the address traces back to a UPS mailbox in New Jersey. It's fake. Get me a breakdown of every location he's influenced. I want to know if this is limited to Lexington. Already started. When she left, Jared looked around the office. The desk was cleaner now. Devin had removed Marco's personal coffee machine and the stack of wine magazines he never shared with staff. A small potted plant sat in the corner, probably Carla's doing. At 5, Jared called a full staff meeting. Everyone gathered in the dining room kitchen, crew still in aprons, servers still in half-unbuttoned uniforms. They sat at the booths and leaned against walls. No one pulled out a phone. No one looked rushed. They were waiting. Jared stood in front of the bar, arms crossed. I won't drag this out, he said. Marco's actions went beyond bad leadership. He defrauded this company and misled all of you. We've reported everything to the authorities. There will be consequences. But I want to talk about what happens next. He looked around the room. Eyes met his, steady and unreadable. This place needs a real general manager. One who builds people up instead of tearing them down. Someone who listens, adapts, and doesn't treat honesty as optional. He turned to Devon. Starting Monday, you're stepping into that role. Interim for now. Permanent if you prove it. Devon froze. Are you sure? You've been running things without the title. Time to make it official. Devon didn't nod or smile. He just stood a little straighter. Jared scanned the room again. Second, every employee who worked under Marco is getting a 2-week bonus. It won't fix what he did, but it's a start. Tasha, standing near the host stand, exhaled sharply. One of the dishwashers clapped once, then stopped, unsure if it was appropriate. Jared nodded at him. It's okay to be glad, he said. You earned it. He continued. We're launching a new supplier verification process. Every ingredient claim will be backed by traceable invoices. If a menu says something's locally sourced, it will be. I've appointed Carla and Luis to oversee kitchen compliance for this location. Carla blinked. Me? You've been holding this kitchen together without a title. You're getting one now kitchen ops lead. And additional pay. Carla didn't smile, but her shoulders dropped half an inch, the closest thing to a thank you he'd likely get. Luis just nodded. We'll keep it clean.
One more thing, Jared said.
We're hiring a compliance liaison for this region. Someone who visits each location quarterly, speaks with staff directly, and reports to me.
No filters. No liars.
I want the truth from the people doing the work.
He paused.
Applications open next week. Internal candidates only. The room stayed quiet for a moment. Then Carla asked, You really think this ends with Marco? No, Jared said. I think this starts with him, but we're not going to let it repeat. After dismissing them, Jared stayed behind to help close. He loaded glasses into the sanitizer and wiped down the prep station with Luis. At the end of the night, he found Tasha folding linens near the back hallway. Got a second? He asked. She nodded, setting the stack down. I read the guest surveys from the last month, Jared said. Your name kept coming up. All positive. She didn't react right away. I just tried to keep people coming back. You did more than that. You maintained trust while leadership was eroding it. That matters. She looked at him directly. I don't want to be just a patch for a broken system. You won't be. You're part of the rebuild. She didn't smile, but her voice was steadier. Then let's get to work. The following week, Jared returned to headquarters. He didn't leave Lexington behind. He scheduled bi-weekly check-ins with Devon, required all future chef hires to undergo sourcing training, and created a rotating schedule where each executive would spend 2 days each month working entry-level shifts across the company. He rewrote the leadership handbook. Not with slogans or mission statements, but with case studies from Lexington, what went wrong, who stepped up, and how trust was rebuilt. The Vermont chicken dish came off the menu, replaced by a new recipe Carla developed with locally sourced thighs, roasted leeks, and a lemon herb glaze. It sold out 3 nights in a row. Tasha took over training for new floor staff. On her first day in the role, she rewrote the entire onboarding manual. Her first sentence read, We serve food, but we build trust. 6 weeks later, Jared returned to Lexington unannounced.
No disguise, no pretext.
Just a quiet dinner, alone at a corner table. The food was honest. The service sharp. No one knew he was there until he left a note with the check, addressed to the staff. You didn't just survive a bad system. You fixed it. Don't forget what that means. He signed it with his initials, folded it under a $100 tip, and walked out into the cool evening. The restaurant behind him glowed warm through the windows. Not perfect, but authentic. and finally built on truth.